All right, we're back again. What's up, everyone? My name is Sunny Ray. This is the Sunny Ray Show. Today I'm with Jeremy Robb. Jeremy, where are you calling in from?
I'm calling in from San Diego, California.
Nice, nice. Definitely a beautiful place. I've only been there a handful of times. Jeremy, do you want to just maybe dive into the deep end and tell people, is it Rob Clan Productions? Is that kind of the brand behind what you're
Mhm.
building, or yeah?
Yep,
So
absolutely.
you're
So
building Wavefinder. So tell people a little bit, like maybe a paragraph or two on kind of like what you're working on, and then we'll come back to it kind of near the end of the interview again.
you bet. So Rob Clan is the company, and Wavefinder is our primary product. It is a an AI first learning management platform. So instead of building like a learning management system where you just create courses and upload them, this platform takes you from that end of the spectrum of where you manually create your courses to utilizing our built-in AI agent to create your own courses and generate those courses, to utilizing your own AI assistants in the AI assistant world, and then utilizing MCP to create and generate and manage your platform. So you're able to grow through your AI development, your AI evolution in your platform, utilizing our platform towards to what I see is going to be the future of work, which is going to be working with your AI agent, and and then that's going to be your primary work uh, interface, and then after that, you're working from there. So
So who is the person we're speaking to here? Is it somebody working in HR that's looking to roll out some sort of like learning program in their, I don't know, 1,000-person company, and they're trying to kind of get ahead of this like AI agentic curve and equip their employees, or like, or is it like the CEO, I guess, or maybe both? But who's the kind of the ICP or whatever you want to call it?
it's definitely going to be your leadership team. And the reason why I say that is because while it is designed very well for your HR team, it's built to develop learning paths and walk people through their learning journey in their particular role. It's also built for your sales enablement team, so they can enable your sales team to get them ready to go, for your customer success team so that they can enable their customers to be more successful, and then for your partner enablement team to enable to support the partners and whatnot. The idea is that you want to shrink down your technical debt so that you have more flexibility in the AI world. And the way that works is through an AI platform that's able to do it all. And a lot of LMSs out there really do pretty much everything you need. But I've walked into a lot of companies that have 5 or 6 different LMSs, each for a very specific team, and they have different you know um, licensing agreements, and they only have so many seats that they allow for. That shouldn't happen in an organization. You should be able to flatten that out and have a single platform that that serves everybody and does it well enough through through the interfaces that you're using.
Interesting. Cool. Open claw for companies? No, bad one. I love these like one-liners, that kind of like portray a lot of information in a least number of words. Like, what's that before we move off this topic? Like, do you have a something of something here?
I would say, that is tough to say. I would say it is learning for OpenClaw is probably the best thing. So your company learning for OpenClaw, because OpenClaw is its own little thing. With what I'm doing, it's very much a supplement to everything else that you're doing, and it becomes the central repository, your central workspace, really, for learning.
Interesting. Okay, so let's put some of this on ice. Let's take me back. Like, what before the world of training and AI. What was young Jeremy actually into? What got you fired up as a kid?
That's a good question. So I was a history major, and I studied ancient Roman and Greek history. And after I graduated, I realized there wasn't a lot that I could do with that. And in order to pay for college, I worked in the tech space. I was I was a technician for NEC computers back when NEC computers was a thing.
I had one. I had one.
And then I worked for a couple of I worked for a small junior college. Well, I guess it's actually a large junior college in the Salt Lake area. And then when I graduated, I needed to find something, so I worked for eBay, and I loved working for eBay. I got a chance to interact with some really great people, and I got an idea of what a good company could be. eBay was a great place to work, and I got my love of teaching around about that time. And I got my master's degree in adult education distance learning. And then I had an opportunity to teach at the University of Utah, and I taught for their School of Computing. And if you don't know about the School of Computing at the University of Utah, they are comparable to the programming and computing schools at like Washington University and UCLA and stuff like that. They're one of the top tier. In fact, quite a few people from Pixar graduated from there, so it was pretty cool. And I taught there for a while, and around about that time, had my first son, and he was autistic. In fact, he's profoundly autistic. He's nonverbal. And at the time, Utah didn't provide a whole lot of opportunities for autistic children, so I needed to move to a state that did, and California was really good. And San Diego was actually number 4 in the best services for kids with autism. Number 1 is San Francisco, couldn't afford to live there. Number 2 is LA, can't afford to live there. Number 3 is Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I couldn't convince my wife to move there. She was complaining about the cold in Utah as it was. So San Diego is where she was born, and she was really excited to move there. So we moved to San Diego, and then my second son was diagnosed autistic. And so enablement became really important to me. And I wanted to learn more about how that worked. So I worked for UCSD for a little while, and then moved to ServiceNow. And I absolutely loved ServiceNow. It was like working for eBay all over again. Really good company, excellent group. In fact, our team was the favorite team to be part of. That was the education. It was the customer education program at the time. Now it's training and certification. But we developed training and we delivered training in multiple ways in order to enable people to learn how to use ServiceNow. And I became a manager there, learned how the business worked, learned how to manage really from there. And it was really exciting, really loved it. And I had an opportunity to move to Abnormal AI. It was Abnormal Security at the time, now it's Abnormal AI. And they were doing something with AI that you just never heard about before, because AI was not very well known at the time. This was 2022. And what they do is they use a series of signals, and they use AI to judge whether or not you are getting email attacks. And they have a 97% accuracy rate, which, I mean, it's amazing. It's a lot better than any SEG out there. I was really excited about what they were doing and how they were using AI, and I wanted to learn more about that. So that's where I dived into AI and got to know how that worked. And I built a training program there. And then I had an opportunity to kind of strike out on my own. I wanted to build a resiliency program for folks who have autism and are neurodivergent, because around about that time, I realized that I was neurodivergent. I got diagnosed autistic, and I found that it's really easy to get burned out and whatnot. So resilience was important for me. And then the current administration was elected, and DEI kind of died. So I didn't have a whole lot of options. And so then I started looking at kind of where we were at with AI, where we were at with training, what options were out there. And a lot of the programs that are out there, and I don't mean to disparage anything, because I think everyone's trying to do what they can and make something really, really awesome. But a lot of the programs that are out there are really geared towards utilizing a custom built, um, effective but generic, meaning it doesn't understand your context particularly, uh, content generator, and it generates content. It does a pretty decent job, and it makes a really nice scaffold. And then from there, you're generally rewriting pretty much everything, but at least you've got the structure. And I thought there was ways we could do better. One was building a learning path, and then based off of that path and based off of the particular role you're using, grab a lot of the context for that role so that an AI agent could better understand how to help you as you are working, and do that from day one. So that as you're learning, they will be able to, the AI agent or the AI assistant will be able to best support you in that particular role. And so I started with that, and that's where Wavefinder really kind of grew out of. And then I got into, and then I started understanding how MCP was working, and I really started digging into OpenClaw. And this was around, December, January, and that got me really excited. There's so many possibilities there, and I figured it was only a matter of time before a big box organization, or a lot of your big operating systems would just kind of write this into their platform and make it consumable ready, consumer ready. And so I wanted to understand how that worked, and then I figured out how MCP worked and connected, and that opened up a whole new way of working. So now you can work from your AI assistant, and that's your primary interface, and the MCP will go to your SaaS platforms and do the work, and then report back and let you know what it was doing. And now your SaaS platforms become your record of work, your operating system for all intents and purposes. I don't know if you can see my little fingers going, but operating systems for all intents and purposes then uh, become the AI agent or the AI assistant that you're using. And then collaboration is going to be happening through that same interface. And so I worked through with Wavefinder how that would work, like what that workflow would look like, and it just made sense. I mean, this is going to be, from where I'm looking, and from the news that I'm getting, and from the direction that we're moving. It feels like this is going to be the way forward, especially now that at WWDC it is rumored, it's heavily rumored, that Siri is finally going to become a true AI assistant, and it'll be MCP enabled. You'll be able to, from your computer or from your phone, say, I need you to do this. Siri will then start the work, report back what it's doing in your SaaS platform, and you never have to look at it, and then let you know what it's doing. And then you modify it, you correct it. You're still in charge, but the work is being done by your AI agent in your SaaS platform. And that's going to open up a whole lot of opportunities, including for AI, for neurodivergent accommodation and adaptability, because now you can adjust what you want or how you want to work with your AI agent, and it will work with you based on the needs that you have. And that's all going to be for the same price that everyone else is paying for an AI agent. So good opportunities. I know that was a
Interesting.
lot.
Yeah, no, I think the question was, what were you like as a kid?
Well, definitely history was the thing. I know I took you through the whole
But I had like maybe 14 questions that you addressed all of, so that was good, and it was right on the money. I'm kind of glad that we got some of that out of the way, because I wanted to dig in a little bit, like in our kind of pre-interview or whatever. You were saying how one way to understand it would be like did you say this to me, or am I dreaming? The Soul MD file that you find maybe in Claude or in OpenClaw, I forget what it's called, but there's this kind of file. Like, are you essentially doing that, but for work? Can I help peel it back a bit? Like, I get OpenClaw, I get Claude Cowork. By the way, that's like completely changed my life. It's insane, like how cool it is, right?
Uh-huh.
But that's the interface that I'm imagining to some extent, right? That I'm dealing with. So where do you fit into this mix where you've got Claude Cowork, OpenClaw, you've got companies that are trying to teach their people how to do
Mhm.
work the way they want it, but is it a file you're building? Is it like a UI? Is it something that's all encompassing? Are you using these things in the background? Like, peel back the onion a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So it helps to understand kind of where.
You're not gonna mind if I take a bite of my steak and pizza here that my wife just
No,
delivered, are you?
absolutely. Yeah,
Okay,
go
cool.
ahead and
So
eat.
keep
Go
going.
ahead
Yeah, I
and
haven't
eat.
eaten all day. I'm doing the whole OMAD thing. Okay, keep going.
No worries. So yeah, it helps to understand where kind of what makes AI assistants like OpenClaw and Claude Code and Claude Cowork effective. Because your Chat GPT and your Claude and these chatbots, they have a limited amount of memory and they don't retain a lot of that. What what OpenClaw and these kind of agents do is they give you a way of storing long-term memory, and that's generally kept in markdown files. And the defining markdown file that kind of explains what the agent is, how it works, how it's going to work with you as the user is usually called the soul.md file. So it gives your agent a soul for all intents and purposes. This one file is then referenced every time you work, and it gets updated and it gets adjusted and everything as you work, as you do something enough times that it knows it needs to retain that based off of other memory files that it's storing. What I do is, as part of that learning journey that you go through, you create a learning path, and someone goes through that learning path as a person, and they're learning how to do their job, and they're learning how to do their job at your company, or they're learning how to do their job in general. um, your AI agent, that assistant, needs to know how that job is going to affect it and how it can best support you in that job. That's where I come in. So the AI generation of that role and all those courses comes with it a AI knowledge.md file that you can add to your AI agent and then include that as part of its memory. So now for that particular role, it knows that, oh, hey, I'm a customer success manager. That means I'm going to be making sure that the reports are in and ready for every meeting that I have, and the recommendations for this particular customer based off of their tier and their success criteria. This is what we're going to be focusing on during the call, and this is how we want to make sure that they're successful. That's all going to be kind of written and dictated by your role, um, MD file. A next level to that, and this is where there's a whole section of Wavefinder. It's called Wavefinder Context, and this is where for an enterprise organization, and this is another problem that you have with the enterprise release of OpenClaw or anything like that, is that it's a very personal way of developing an AI agent. You're learning from each other, it's updating, it's very slow, and you're relying on everyone to build their own agent. If you want to do that at scale, that doesn't work. So what you need is a way is to deliver context at scale. And that's what the Wavefinder context does. You're able to set up a corporate level context, which is, these are the ways that we work as a company. These are our values. These are our ethics. This is, absolute do nots. And this is what we want you to do as an agent in order to best support your users. And that's going to be generic, right? It's going to be across the board. Everybody in this company, if you're using an agent, your agent should be following these particular guidelines. You can provide that, and you can make that available to every agent. And then you've got your role specific ones, which come from the role and dictate how that role works. And then we provide an option for personal context, how you like to work personally, how you expect meetings to go, and how you expect updates to be presented, and how often you expect those to be presented. Those are all personal contexts. This is how you are working with your agent, and it's a very personal thing. In Wavefinder, it's locked down so that only the individual sees theirs. Their manager won't see it. Their tenant admin's not going to see it. I can't see it as the primary admin for the platform. It's kept very personal and very private, and you can download that and take it with you, so that you'll always be able to, if you move to another job, you'll have that same context. If you move to another role, you'll have that same context. So your agent always knows, this is how I work with my user. And then you're able to upload that and save that into a cloud access file. And
Who creates this? Who creates this? Like, do I, as the employee of a company, or is it the leaders of that company? And if it's the leaders, should they not have continuity and ownership over it? And if it's me, then why would the corporation feed all of its like kind of proprietary workflows to it? Do you know what I'm asking? Like, where's that delineation?
Absolutely. Yeah. So for the corporate level context, that's something that the corporation itself is going to provide, and it's going to be a leader in some sort. Usually, it would be like the tenant admin, but they're the ones that are going to be taking, and this is going to be all of your, it's your general user manual for the company, right? These are our ethics, these are our values, all that stuff. You're going to put that in for everybody to use. It's going to be available
like a wiki of sorts, right? Or kind of,
yeah,
sort of,
exactly.
or not?
Yeah, sort of like a wiki. That's going to be corporate level, and it can be updated. It can be updated regularly, and it's going to be available for everyone. For the role-based context, that's generated when you generate the role, and so it's going to take all the learning and all the prep that you do. And so for learning, for your L&D team, when they go in and create a course, ideally, what they're going to do is they're going to have a full task analysis done for that role. So they know exactly everything that person is going to be doing, all the subtasks that are necessary to complete those tasks, all the skills, knowledge, attitudes, perspectives, everything that's necessary in order to be successful. Wavefinder will take that and then generate this is how an AI is going to best support you in that particular role. And you can influence that obviously as you create it, because you can say, for AI assistance, this is what I want you to do. Make sure that all this is taken care of for a particular role. That's role based. That's going to be as just part of like developing the same training that you would do for a person. And for the personal stuff, that is on the individual user. They're the ones that are going to dictate how they're going to be working with their AI agent. And that's why it stays really personal and no one else sees it.
Cool. So most AI tools are like content generators, right? But you're calling Wavefinder a learning operating system. So what's the difference, and why does it matter?
The difference is there's multiple ways of working with Wavefinder. One, of course, is you can manually go in and build everything out yourself, and that's fine. I mean, you can do that with any LMS right now, perfectly fine. You can also use the built-in AI agent, and the reason why I did this is because a lot of people are transitioning to AI, but they're not exactly sure how it's going to work, and so they're going to want a little bit of help. One way that a lot of companies are able to claim the "We Are AI" label, and I'm putting the air quotes again, is they work in pre-developed, pre-made AI agents that are available in SaaS platforms, and then they utilize that and make the claim that they're AI. And I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm just saying it's a stepping stone. It helps you get used to the idea of utilizing AI. And so that's what Wavefinder does that. We have a built-in AI agent. It's actually 5 different agents that will generate your learning path. It'll generate course outlines, generate the course. It'll generate certification exams for a learning path. You can generate individual courses if you need to. All that's there. So that's all available. The next level, though, is where the real magic happens, and that's where you're going to be using your own AI assistant, like OpenClaw or Hermes or Claude Code or Claude Cowork. You will connect to Wavefinder using MCP, and then you can build all those courses yourself. You can manipulate those courses, you can update them, you can evaluate them, you can have your engineering team connect to it and evaluate the content and make sure that it is technically accurate. You can have the marketing team connect and make sure that the content that you're positioning, that you're creating, is going to be positioned the way they're positioning it in the market. Customer success can connect and make sure that they can, you're talking to how customers are using it now and covering the bases of where it's missing. And then even support, these are the common questions that we get up. We want to make sure those get answered. They can all use their own AI agents, connect, do the evaluation, each taking about 2 minutes each. It takes about 2 minutes to do this. And then provide suggestions, provide edits, and then your agent can then go through, look at the changes, accept or deny. You have complete control as the course owner, and then publish. So now instead of utilizing a generic AI agent, you're using agents that have context to the particular role or to the particular product. The engineering AI agent is going to have the context of how it built the product, so it knows what the expected user process is going to be because that's how they designed it. And they're going to be able to provide that context when they do the technical evaluation. Marketing, same thing. There's a certain level of knowledge and a certain level of positioning that they expect for every interaction with customers. That can be added. So there's lots of different ways that you can utilize it, but this becomes now, instead of being like a repository, instead of being like the place where you generate training, it becomes a repository of work that you're not using directly. You're just using it to monitor kind of how things work and how things look. But all the real work is happening through AI agents through that connection. That's where it differentiates itself. So instead of just being an LMS or being an LMS with AI content creation bolted on there, it really is a transitioning piece that allows you to move from no AI to some AI to we're using AI entirely, and we need to be able to have a platform that's going to support that.
Sorry, I'm just eating my steak here. I was gonna say, are you using RAG? Is that how you're like kind of creating persistent memory? And like how are you making sure that these things don't hallucinate? I mean, a lot of people are obviously terrified of using this in the work environment, right?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So the primary work of the agent, when you're using agents to generate content, it uses 100% the resources that you provide, and so you're providing the role name, the description. You can even grab the description. The examples I give in my demos, I grab descriptions right from like LinkedIn and drop it in there. So it's an actual job description for the role, and then you provide resource links, or you can even provide resource files. Just upload them, and that's where you would provide. If you have the task analysis, you provide the task analysis. If you don't have that, then you just provide general resources. And the agent itself is built with the necessary skills in mind. So I've trained it on 12 different curriculum development course books and everything, so it knows the process and understands what it should look like. I've given it my own personal, like, this is how we build courses, job task analysis, made sure it has that understanding because it's something I've carried with me through my entire career. And then from that, because since that's hard coded, it's permanent. and then it generates the content. And when it generates the content's fairly decent. I mean, I've gone through the stuff, I've looked at it. It's fairly decent on its own. I'm not going to say it's perfect. That's where the human comes on board, because they've got to look at it, they've got to review it, they've got to make sure it's good. Um, and if you're doing a, if you're building it yourself, obviously you're doing that as you're going along. If you're generating content, this works with any content generation tool. You still have to do the same thing. Evaluate that makes it looks good. Sometimes you're changing entire paragraphs. Sometimes you're changing entire sections. But you want to make sure that it's all accurate and good. And then you can add like videos and images and stuff like that. For the other piece, and I think this is probably where a lot of the concern might come in about hallucination and everything. And that's where your AI agent is doing the work. Your agent is connecting. That the way that's controlled is that every AI agent out there, whether you're using OpenClaw or NemoClaw or Hermes or Agent Zero or Cloud Code or Cowork or Codex, even connected Codex, they maintain their own memory files, and those memory files maintain your context. And it's those memory files, however they're stored, and they can either be stored in flat files, or they can be stored in their own like an open brain or a second brain type setup where it's a database that they query and whatnot. It really depends on how you design your agent. But that memory is what's going to dictate the context and the content that it generates and then creates in Wavefinder. So
Almost like a Obsidian or something.
yeah. If you connect Obsidian, and a lot of people they've connected Obsidian to their agents.
Me too.
And that keeps all the memory and that keeps all the context. And so that makes it a lot easier to keep the LLM, the model, from hallucinating, because you're not leaving it up to the model. The model sees the context that you're providing.
But does it need to like query your whole Obsidian every time you ask it, like, hey, where's what movie's playing tomorrow? Is it like going through like my 10 years of like notes, and like isn't it kind of like overkill, or does it have some like searchability functionality through the MCP? In fact, I was going to ask you about that. So MCP is at the heart of how Wavefinder works, right? So for someone who's never heard of it, what does multi-agent collaboration unlock for an L&D team?
So what MCP does is there's two ways that an agent will execute work in tools. One is through CLI or command line interface, and that means it's using local tools that are installed on your platform and uses command line in order to do work. And it just does everything through text, which is how LLMs best work. For MCP, it uses the model context protocol to connect. It's kind of like an API, but APIs are designed and served up the way we consume as humans. We consume work. The MCP serves up content essentially in either text or JSON form. And it simplifies reading, it simplifies understanding. And so when you connect anything through MCP, the agent is able to it's basically allowing the agent to read and write in either a markdown file or a JSON file and do the work that way. So it simplifies the context. It simplifies the number of tokens that you need to use when you're doing work, where an API would increase that significantly, because you've got to understand, it's got to interpret what you're doing, and that means you burning through tokens. So when you are querying your own database, like Obsidian, your local agent is going to be, it depends on how it's connected. If it's connected through like a CLI, if it's like a local Obsidian install, it's going to use a basic database query. It's going to find what it needs based off of that. And it may go through the entire database, but because you've limited it it's not going to burn through a lot of tokens, and it's not going to have to, it's not going to burn through everything. It's just going to do a quick query, bring back that data. If it's going through a series of markdown files, then it has to go through all of your markdown files. And so that goes to how you configure your AI assistant on your end. Once the AI assistant has the data it needs, it saves that essentially in a temporary markdown file. And then it uses MCP to connect to whatever it's a remote repository for. So for Wavefinder, it can build the content, it can build everything through JSON. Wavefinder takes that JSON and turns it into something that is human readable. But it would do the same thing for like ServiceNow or Salesforce or anything else that's MCP enabled.
So does AI like JSON better or Markdown files, or both?
It prefers both. It does not like HTML.
Yeah. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe help me land the plane. Like I just noticed we're kind of at the end of the interview. Thank you so much for coming on. Where does enterprise learning go in 5 years? Like who wins, who gets disrupted, and where does where does Wayfinder sit in all of that?
So the winners in 5 years, I would even argue in the next year or two, the winners are going to be those platforms that are going to enable MCP and are going to enable AI agent work. It's not going to be those that have bolted on AI assistants or AI agents into their platform, hoping that people are going to keep going to that, going to their website and doing the content or building it off separately. It's really going to be based off of who can support an AI assistant like OpenClaw or Claude Code or Siri or Copilot. I'm pretty sure Microsoft's going to do the same thing with Copilot. Support that MCP connection, because that's going to be the way we're going to be working. So in 5 years, that's how we're going to work, and that may be how we're going to be learning as well. So all the content you create needs to be readable through that same interface and presented that way. And so those are going to be the winners. I think that's what's going to win in the future. Those that are going to struggle are those that are going to think that things are just the same, or if I just bolt these things on, it will be okay. You can't bolt something like this on. It's got to be built in from the ground up. So those that are existing would have to rebuild their platform from the ground up in order to remain competitive, really. And then Wavefinder, because we have that already built in from the ground up, that's where we fit. And we're going to be essentially the learning appliance for your AI infrastructure in 5 years' time, easily.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jeremy, so much. Really interesting. I mean, obviously, yeah, a lot of people are buzzing about all this crazy stuff, right? Agents and all that. So it's super cool that we get a bit of an inside route in terms of how you're seeing things. With that said, thank you all for tuning in, and we'll bring this one to a close. Jeremy, hang back for maybe 1 second. And until next time, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.